How's it going? This is Hoiman, and today we're taking a look at the Figma Black Magician Girl, or Dark Magician Girl for the English name. So the packaging, you have a really nice window to see pretty much the whole figure inside. Moving to the top, you have a nice picture of the figure. Same for both sides, but they're just different pictures. The bottom is pretty much the same as the top. And in the back, you have various pictures of the figure. And it also advertises the Yami Yugi figure as well. And then at the bottom, you just have some legal stuff. To open the box, just lift open the top flap. And then you just remove the front cover. And there's the figure all together with her accessories. So first you do get some instructions just showing what the figure comes with and how to operate the accessories. Okay, so here's the figure, and as expected from Figma, the sculpt on this figure is really amazing. I feel that they've definitely captured the likeness of the character extremely well. So looking at the face, I feel that they've nailed it. They've definitely captured the likeness of Dark Magician Girl really well. Looks just like her from all angles. And then the eyes themselves are just painted really nice and cleanly. And then you do also have the blushes on her cheeks. Again, they just look very nice and clean. Then you move on to the hair, so it's really well sculpted for the most part. And it's molded in a nice yellow plastic. But you can still see all the strands of the hairs in there. So it looks really nice overall. And then the dynamic of the pose on how it's sculpted looks really nice as well. Adds a lot of character. And then you move down to the torso. So because this is based on the Japanese version, it is actually a star symbol rather than the red gem, which is the English version. So overall, the detail of the star is very nice and clean, and it has a nice glossy finish as well. And you can see that she's wearing the necklace under there. It's painted in nice metallic red. Definitely sparkles against the light. And you move on to the actual clothing, so it's really well sculpted all the way around, all the way to the cape. And the cape is sculpted. It has a really nice wind effect going. So that's really well sculpted. And then you move down to the arms. So the forearm parts, really well sculpted again. Nice metallic paints of the yellow, well, gold and red. Look very nice. Whereas the blue and pink is a nice matte finish, which is the same for the torso as well. And then the actual hands are well sculpted as well. Moving down to the belt. Again, very simple sculpt, but it does look very nice. And then the actual skirt itself, similar to the cape, they have a nice wind effect going on. And then of course you have the back flap here as well. And then to the actual legs. So the boots are really well sculpted. Continues the nice matte blue and pink. Whereas the yellow parts here are nice and metallic. So like I already said, the sculpt on this figure is just incredible. Definitely captures the likeness of the character really well. So for articulation, the neck is on a kind of ball joint. So she can look down about that much, and then she can look up about that much. And then she can tilt her head side to side as well as twist. So for the hair, the front part here is actually a completely softer material rather than the hard plastic of her back hair. So because her hair on the front is softer, it does allow a bit more range, just because it kind of does rub against the torso here. So because it's a softer material, it doesn't hinder it too much, but for the most part, it's still pretty limited. And unlike the hair, these shoulder parts are actually solid pieces. So they're going to really restrict most of her head for the most part. But there is actually a hinge connected for the chest and the back here, so these shoulder parts can actually move up and down like so. So for the most part, it does kind of get out of the way for her hair a little bit, but for the most part, it is still going to hinder it quite a bit. For the shoulders, they're on ball joints, so you can move her shoulder about however you like, and they're also on a hinge, so you can bring her arm out to the side. And like I already showed, the shoulder piece can kind of get out of the way just a little bit to allow the arm a bit more range. And then she can also bring her arm forward, but it's quite restricted for the most part. Bring her arm back, but again, a little bit restricted. She does have the bicep swivel. And then she's got single jointed elbows, but of course the forearm here does kind of restrict it a little bit. And then she's kind of got a bit of a rotation on the forearm as well. And then for the hands, they're on ball joints, so you can move them slightly, but because of the sculpt of the sleeve and this inner part of the glove here, it is quite restricting. But the glove piece is a soft material, but for the most part, it doesn't really affect articulation too much. For the torso, so there's a double ball joint, one at the top, one at the bottom, and she can lean about that far forward. And this piece of the clothing is actually a softer material, so it does kind of allow for a bit more range, but not really a whole lot. And then she can lean back about that much, and then she can lean side to side as well as twist. So moving down to the hips, this whole skirt piece is a softer material, same for this front piece here, but the back piece is actually quite solid. But still, you do get the ball jointed hips, so she can kick about that far to the side, and then kick forward about that much, kick back that much. She does have the thigh swivel, as well as single jointed knees, get quite a lot of range. Moving down to the boot, this top part of the boot is actually on a floating piece, so that can rotate around the leg, and that's mainly just to use of the accessory, which I'll show in a bit. And then down to the ankle, so it's on a ball joint, so it can go back about that much, forward that much, can lean side to side as well as twist. But as you can already see, the boot here is a solid piece, so it's going to restrict quite a lot of her ankle articulation. So for a character that has a pretty abstract and difficult design, it's still impressive that Figma was able to engineer it in a way to allow for quite a bit of range of motion still. But that's the figure. Let's take a look at the accessories. So for faces, she comes with a default smiling face. She comes with a one-eyed winking face. And then she comes with another smiling face but looking off to her side. So for hands, she comes with a pair of fists. And then she comes with a rack of bunch of hands. So 2 open palmed hands, 2 peace hands, 1 open palmed hand, 1 hand to hold her staff, and then another hand to hold her staff, but it's slightly different posed. She also comes with an extra wrist joint, very useful. She comes with her hat, they get really well sculpted and detailed. Again, has a nice matte finish. And then there's the peg inside, which just attaches to the hole on her head, like so. And then it fits onto the figure very nice and snugly. It's not going to fall off or anything. It comes with her staff, nicely detailed. The handle has a nice kind of glossy finish, whereas the gold is nice and metallic. And then the top bit here can be removed so that you can slide it into the figure's hand, like so. She comes with 2 extra leg pieces, which is already pre-posed to a bending position. And then you can even see that there's a groove here. So like I mentioned before, because the boot can move about, you just slide the hole into the boot like so. And then you can see how this part of the boot just snugly fits into that gap of her leg like so. And then that just fits in very snugly like so. She also comes with a spellbinding book, just lots of detail going on, painted in nice metallic paints, and then all the detailing is actually embossed and sculpted on. And then the inside, you can see the pages. It would have been nice if there was some sort of symbols in here, but overall it still looks nice. She does come with a display base for the spellbinding book, and then there's a ball joint at the base so you can pose the book like so. She also comes with a Figma stand. And finally, she comes with a Figma bag. So my final thoughts are, so before I get into anything, like I already said, this is based on her original colors. So it's a Japanese version, so you do get the star symbol. And because it's the original colors, it's not quite as accurate to the anime that most people are probably more familiar with. But I still do like the really bright blue color scheme. It just kind of really brings this figure and really pops on the shelf. So overall, it does make a very nice display piece. But saying that, because this is based on the Japanese version, for me, because I grew up with the character in English, I am more used to the red gem on the chest here. But it being a star isn't really bothered me too much. My main issue, I guess, is probably with the chest. So I know in the original design, her chest is bigger, whereas in the English version, they've been decreased in size. And for me personally, I'm not really that keen on fan servicey stuff or anything. But for this figure, I wouldn't say it's like a bad thing or anything. It's definitely accurate to how the character originally looks. And it's not so big that they're distracting. So overall, it doesn't really bother me too much, but it's just something I thought I'd point out. And continuing on, I do have some issues with the figure overall. So first off, because these shoulder parts are on a hinge, whenever you move them, it tends to kind of shift the star about. So every now and then when I'm posing them, the star always becomes unbalanced. So I always kind of end up having to adjust it so that it's in the right place again. So you can see how it's accurate now, but once I start moving the shoulder, then it kind of just reverts back to this angle. So it's a very minor thing that can be easily resolved, but it's something I thought I'd point out. And then the second thing is probably with the extra legs, when you attach them to the figure, it looks nice, but I do feel that the back of the boot does kind of tend to rub against the skirt. So no matter which way I kind of pose it, it does tend to rub against the skirt quite a bit. So there is a fear that it might get some paint transfer. But as long as you're careful with the figure, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But other than those minor gripes, like I already said, this is just an excellent looking figure. Definitely well sculpted and detailed, and in the paintwork, although there's not really any shading, it's very nice and clean for the most part. And again, really captures the likeness of the character really well. And as of this video, this figure was released quite a few years ago, but it did recently get a reissue. So if you can find her for a really decent price, since she's got a reissue, the price has kind of gone back to the original price, but lately it has kind of been increasing again. So if you do plan on getting this figure, then I do recommend getting her sooner than later. And if you're a fan of this character, then I'm pretty sure you won't be disappointed with the purchase. But that's my review. Thank you for watching and enjoy some pictures.